Good evening, everyone. It's here again. Friday rolls around. As I always say, I'm beginning to say every week, it seems such a long way off on a Monday morning. And then suddenly it's here we are having a beer. Cheers, everyone. In case anyone's interested, this evening is brought to you by this stuff. Franziskaner Weiss beer. I didn't buy this. There's a chap who, and there's another. Basically, I've got a bit of a selection, and that's one of them. There's a chap who comes to me for lessons, and his last lesson he had to cancel at short notice because he got called out to work and whatever. You know, this kind of thing happens. And when he turned up this week, he had a selection of beers for me by way of apology, which is nice of him. Yeah, it's rather a cloudy one, this. Not sure what to think of this, but it is the best kind of beer, free beer, I always find. So that is, I'm going to drink it, whatever happens. So I've got, what else have I got? I've got an Erdinger. Is that Weiss beer as well? Never had that one before. And I've also got a Star of Pramen up here, which I am quite fond of this sort of stuff. Sleep juice, this is. And then there's a fridge full of Heineken downstairs. So that'll be what's seeing the evening out. Let's have a look. Ball's drinking Weiss beer too. Nice one. Let's see who we've got in. Who was first in? Who gets the medal this week? Balder first in with two posts. First of all, wishing me a happy birthday. Yes, it is my birthday this coming week, and I'm going to spend the day doing absolutely the square root of bugger all. I'm taking a day off. It's the thing with being self-employed. You don't get paid holidays times, you don't get paid sick leave, you work bank holidays, you work 7 days a week, but you're your own boss, so you can decide, screw this, I'm taking the day off on my birthday, which is what I'm doing this coming week. Then we got Johnny Random and Grandpa Joe. Thank you all for your birthday wishes, by the way. There's Ian Clark. Are we expecting to see candles tonight? No. There'd be too many candles for the cake, mate. Yes. Next week I will be officially closer to 60 than I am to 50. So I'll be honest with you, I don't feel a day over 50. But then again, I haven't felt a day over 50 since I was about 23. Then we've got Mark Kerno is in there. Where have you gone? The chat's moved there. And Wilson Jones, greetings from the smoke. PFY Guitars, Craig Stamen is in, so's James Hunt and Edwin Toonan and Terry Day. Then we've got Michael Palmer, and we've got Paul Trainer, Bridget Pollock, Robert Z. I always forget which way around that is. And I'm noticing a few super chats dropping in. I'll get to those in a moment. Thank you so much, everyone. Oh, there's Robster Boy with the first one. Thank you, everyone, for your birthday wishes. John Channing is there, and then we've got Michael Purcell, and scrolling down, there's Anton and Randy Upchurch. Happy day you left the factory, sir, and many more. Much love from Southern Illinois. Peace. Thank you, Randy. You're a gentleman. Then we've got Jeff C. and Peter S. And who else? We've got David Evans, Bass at Night, Calby and the Rocco Cat. Peter Collins is there. So is, scrolling down, Savvy64 and David Evans. I think I've said you already, haven't I? It happens every week. I always mention someone twice. Watchers and Guitars is in. There's Farjon and Chris Ottewell. Stratboy 999 is in. So's Graham Reeves and Russell Gibson. There's David James and Cylon Hybrid and Rexomatic. And then James Hunt is saying we have a valve or tube amp question. Do you want to fire that at me later, mate, when I get down to the bottom of the chat? We've got Steve Echo's guitar there, and Colin Falcon and David Collins. There's Brad Matthews and Peter Nicholson, Bev Doyle and Savvy64. Rent to Kill is in, so is Lawrence Hastings. And then who else? We've got Cape Cod Dog and... have I missed Colin Falcon? I think you're in there anyway, mate. We got Cowas Music and Thomas Mulvaney. There's Robert Galbraith and Chicky Sheena. I hope I pronounced that correctly. We've got John Fazio. Is that an I or an O? I've got to put you up on screen, mate. Yeah, John. Is that? Yeah, I think it is an I. John Fazio. There's RF and Vincent Brennan. Ron Wells is in, so's George Wall and Dudley Squat. There's Ben Allmark and Cool Cat and Jamal123. Who else we got? Let's scroll down. We got Reeled In 58 and Frank Bollerman, Bill Mumbo coming in there, and and then the chat moved. Then we got William Forrest and Peter Collins and if I said Pablo Hank there, he is there. Triple Distilled is in. Arvin Gaunt is in as well. And we got Cool Cat, Gear View, Mirror, Dave Fiendish, and Cornucopia is in. So we've got David Cairns and Pooh Ninja, the Time Prophet, John Mack. And who else we got? We've got Peter Nicholson, Brad Matthews. Thank you so much, mate. That's very, very kind of you. And Horatio Navarro is in, and so is Murray Music, and Rick Cooks and GRB Aquatics, Big Borky, and there's Edwin Toonan with another super chat. Thank you so much, mate. The Heineken are on him tonight. And who else we got? I think that might be everybody. Oh no, Steve Cassidy guitar, Graham James, and scrolling down, we've got Johnny Love and Nancy Davis, and Ravi is in, and Dave Lewis, and Fazio is correct. Thank you, mate. And then there's John Mack. Thank you so much, mate. You're not old, you're just a lad. Well, that's very kind of you to say so. And then, thank you, John, for the birthday wishes, and Gary Shaw, thank you again for the birthday wishes. Thank you, everyone, for the birthday wishes. I know some people once they kind of get to a certain age start getting hang-ups about the birthday. I don't. It's a day off. And I can I can have a few beers and not have to worry about being in a fit state to get on with any work. So what's not to like about that? Cheers, everyone. As usual, I don't really have much of a plan of what I'm going to talk about tonight. One little bit of news that I'm going to share with you, but let's get the this week's schedule out of the way first. What's coming up on the channel this week? Sunday's video is, I dare I say it, the long-awaited showdown between the Epiphone 59 Les Paul and the Gibson Les Paul Tribute. If you don't already know which one of those is leaving the building, I suspect you probably do, but if you don't, you'll find out in that video on Sunday, and you can see and hear how they compare. Then on Monday, we have a bit of a classic solo, I think. It's a short but sweet, but loads you can learn from it. The main thing I learned about this solo when I was kind of putting it together and doing a little bit of research on, who played it and so on, is it's not by the guitarist I thought it was by. Let's just pause that a second, and James Hunt's got his valve amp question. First valve amp Blackstar HT1R. Should I turn it off when I stop playing for dinner and lunch, taking a dump, etc.? No standby switch, by the way. No, actually, you should do exactly the opposite. Most of the wear and tear that happens with valves is by switching on and switching off. If you leave valves on all the time, it's not harming them. In fact, it's better for them, because it's all those transient voltage spikes and getting it up to heat and then cooling down and so on. That is what kind of shortens the lives of valves. So leave it switched on. I used to with the Marshall. That said, the Marshall just started emitting that groaning noise, which I haven't had time to investigate yet. But generally speaking, that is the sort of accepted wisdom for how to deal with valves, is to just leave them on. because on, off all the time. That's what will shorten their lives. Anyway, yes, Monday's solo. Think of a classic solo played by Jay Graydon, but perhaps you didn't know it was by Jay Graydon, and that's all I'm going to say. And it's not a Steely Dan solo. Before we go any further, it's another one of his solos from a very, very, very famous single. Probably the best known version of this song is the live version at the Budokan. That's all I'm going to say. So you should be able to work it out from that. Then on Tuesday, we're doing a top 5. And you know, with these top 5 lists, occasionally I go off-piste a little bit and start doing stuff that isn't music related. Like, ages ago, I did my 5 favourite comedians, didn't I? Well, it's another one of those where I'm going kind of off the beaten track a little bit and doing some, just by way of a change, doing a video about what I think are 5 of the best movies ever made. So it's kind of giving you a little bit of an insight into me and the kind of entertainment I enjoy, and the sort of stuff I do when I'm not playing guitar. When I'm sort of just chilling out, because I get so much time to do that. So yeah, Tuesday is all about the top 5 movies ever made. Then Wednesday's video, a certain Mr. Toonan in the chat knows all about this one. He basically it's Wednesday's of viewers' questions, and he sent me a question about how to play over a certain rather cheesy but fantastic 80s hit by Huey Lewis and the News. It's got quite a Farjon saying I should do top 5 beers, shouldn't I? Yeah, well, that's an idea. Leave that one with me. It's a Huey Lewis tune from the 80s, which is you've heard a million times, but you don't realize just how not sort of complex, but how off the wall the chord sequences. It takes a few bends and curves and twists and turns, and it's basically how to play over that kind of thing. So that is Wednesday's video. Then on Thursday, I'm shopping. You're going to come shopping with me if you like that kind of thing. Virtual. I'm just kind of, I'm not going to kind of start filming inside a guitar shop, but basically, I've decided it's time for a new acoustic, and I'm going to go shopping for that on Thursday. Well, I've been, it's this video was made weeks ago, so but it's I'm looking at the acoustic now over here, and you'll see which one it is on Thursday. I see we're getting a lot of discussion about how's the lovely Dougal this week? Rent to Kill asks. Well, let me put it this way. Yeah, and you can probably, I don't know if you can see this one here as well. They're all starting to kind of scab up, and and there's one there as well. He's got a very, very sharp dew claw, which is that like the dog equivalent of the thumb, up here, and because he's got long spindly legs, it's further up his leg than in a lot of dogs, so it doesn't make contact with the ground when he's out for a walk, so it doesn't get blunted down. And whenever I go downstairs and walk in the living room, he's all over me like a rash, and it's just he's jumping up, and his claws sometimes get me. So he's enthusiastic, is what we'll say about Dougal. I think he's in his crate at the moment, asleep, because I had him out for a decent walk this afternoon, up and down like this nature reserve we've got here. Blowing a gale it was, but nice long walk to tire him out, so I get some peace on a Friday night. So he's flaked out at the moment. I see we're getting a lot of discussion about movies. Maria Davis is saying, "Happy birthday, John. We're having to be to celebrate your big day." Well, thank you very much. Thank you so much. David K is saying, anyone played or can tell me what the recently reissued Epiphone Coronet is like? Very tempted to pick one up. I think that was one that Colin at Guitaristas did a review of, and he was quite taken with it. How did you read Taking a Dump Without Smirking, John? Because I'm a professional, mate. Yes. I see we've got Robert Galbraith asking me a question here. I'm playing at an open mic night. I've decided not to take an amp because my bad monkey pedal has a second output to mix it with cabinet simulation to go straight into PA mixer. Yep, seems like a wise move. As long as you've got decent on-stage monitoring, you should be all right. And there's the question. Do you have any experience with this? Will it sound okay? Should I take the amp? The last gigging I did was in, I think, about 2014, so it's getting on for 10 years ago, and that's when I was heavily into the Vox Tone Lab, and so all I used to take was the Tone Lab and just straight into the PA. The trick is being able to hear yourself on stage, and if you've got monitors, I don't mean like these fancy in-ear monitors, just like a simple wedge monitor, then you should be fine. Even without that, if you are able to kind of stand in the right place so you can hear what's coming out the front of house speakers, again, you should be fine. It's I've done it and it worked for me. It's so. Frankly, if I was to go back to gigging now, I'll be using this thing here, the Blue Guitar amp, and just going out the recording output of that into a PA. I mean, it's a 100-watt amp, and you can hook it up to a speaker cab, but why bother? Dave Lewis is saying, hi, John, I bought your big head, little body T-shirt, proceeds to Zoe's place this week after seeing Johnny Budget Guitar modelling one on his show. Yeah, what I do with those, thank you, Dave, by the way, what I do with those is I log into about 2 or 3 times a year because I like it when it's when there's a decent amount there waiting for me. I'll log into me. It's not Teespring anymore, is it? But I still think it's Teespring. It's called Spring now. I log into my account there and see what money is, kind of there available to pay out, and it gives you a breakdown of what you've sold, and so all of the stuff all of the the sales from that particular T-shirt go to Zoe's place. So that's the way it works. So what I'm saying is, it's not like when you buy it, the money goes straight to Zoe's places. Next time I go in and do me sort of accounts there, then I end up cutting Zoe's place a payment. Usually I round it up. So if it's like, if the T-shirts have sold 30 quid, I'll maybe 34, 40, 34, 35 quid. I'll round it up to 40, usually to the nearest 10. Because they've been good to me, Zoe's place. That whole Guitars for Good Causes thing was really the bedrock which got this channel, kind of moving, really. And and they're a great organisation. They do good work, so why not? Right. Excuse me. I've got to be honest with you. That's my first experience with this Weiss beer, and I don't dislike it, but I'm not sure it would be my first choice, is what we'll say about it. But we'll try this Erdingo one, shall we? Let's see how this pours. Here we go. Let's see if we can get a decent flake-like top on it. Oh, it's not bad. It's not bad. There we go. A little bit of flake, everyone. It makes you a bit musical, does it, Balder? Fair enough, mate. Well, there's chili later on tonight, so my lucky wife is in for a hell of an evening. Beer unboxing, indeed. Michael Purcell is asking, how's me health these days? I'm fine, mate. You know, I mean, I'm a 56-year-old or just a few days off it. You know, so I'm not in the first flush of youth. You know, but you know, in terms of like the cancer treatment and everything, that's all done and dusted. You know, that was it was a breeze, really. I mean, once you get past that big scary word, that, you know, cancer, you know, which does set the old the backside going, manhole cover 20 pence, manhole cover 20 pence, you know. It's once you get past that, it was, I had no symptoms from the illness, and I had no side effects from the treatment. So, you know, you can't ask for anything better than that, really. If that's my brush with that particular malady, then, you know, I'll happily take that. Yeah, I'm all right, you know. I don't have time to be poorly, to be honest with you. James Hunt is saying wheat beer has an acquired taste after half a dozen, so it tastes great. Is that what it is? Wheat beer, as opposed to, I guess, barley. Yeah. Let's have a look, see what else we got in the chat. A lot of people shouting flake. Yes, indeed. And Cowards Music is saying white Vice beer is very special. Oh, Muskie, how are you, mate? I noticed you just snuck in there. Catacastra is saying, have a great birthday, JR. Thanks for all the helpful music tips. Any thoughts on what's more worth it, the 59 Epi or the Tribute Les Paul? Right, well, I'm letting the cat out the bag here, but you know already, don't you? Because I've, you know, the beer loosened me tongue a couple of live streams ago. The situation is this: if I had that 59 Les Paul, that Epiphone 59, if I'd had that guitar first, I think I would have formed a strong emotional bond with it and kind of thought, oh, yeah, this is a bit special. Oh, I'm not letting this one go. I think. But the thing is, I didn't have that one first. I had the Les Paul Tribute first. And that's a bit of a special guitar for me because, you know, as I said at the time when I bought it, was, you know, I'd gone 30 years without owning a Les Paul, and I'd had a lot of Les Paul style guitars. Oh, excuse me. Including a couple of Epiphones and Harley Bentons and Tanglewoods and vintage and, you know, various kind of like budget Les Pauls, and never really connected with any of them, but I did with the Tribute. So if I can only have one Les Paul guitar, then it was a close run thing, but I chose the Tribute. But that Epi 59 is an incredible guitar. It went to its new owner, who I think is a viewer of the channel, and he messaged me through eBay saying that he's absolutely like, I was going to say something then that I probably shouldn't say on YouTube, but he was like a dog with two things, you know. He was absolutely over the moon with it, loves it, just can't put it down. They're a fantastic guitar. It's just I've got this kind of bond with the with the Tribute that I absolutely adore it. Speaking of guitars that I absolutely adore, time for the weekly gratuitous Blondie shot. Unfortunately, Blondie's going to be taking some time off from making videos because she's a bit poorly. I've played the living daylights out of this guitar over the last 2.5 years, and it's beginning to show. I'm going to have to do a little bit of spot leveling on a couple of frets, and there's an issue with the selector switch down here, which I think it's just fair wear and tear. You know, the bridge pickup won't select properly, so I've tried a squirt of contact cleaner on it, and it's not really sorted it out. So I'm going to have to find some time to do a little bit of guitar maintenance. Maybe there's a video in that at some point, but yeah, the Blondie needs a little bit of TLC, and until such time as I've got, you know, a day in my schedule where I can do that, and it ain't going to be on my birthday because I'm not working on my birthday. I've decided I just need to just give it, you know, as I say, she's you know, provided sterling service over the last what was it, November 2020 she arrived, and I've not had to do a thing to her since, you know, not done a thing, and it you know, it's time for a little bit of routine maintenance, I guess. Steve Cassidy, Nuno Betancourt is the greatest rock guitar ever. Discuss. He's obviously your favourite, and that's, you know, this is one of those kind of things where there is no right answer, isn't there? Because, you know, I could name, you know, countless incredible guitar players whose music just doesn't float my boat. Now, you know, does that mean they're not good guitarists? No, well, no, it doesn't. But it's, you know, there's always some, because music is an emotional thing, it's very, very difficult, if not impossible, to be objective about it. And, you know, I'll quote Neville Martin here, a guy who I have a lot of time for, because like many people, I used to be an absolutely avid reader of Guitarist magazine from, I guess, the mid-'80s through till, well, I guess, when was the last time I bought a guitar magazine of any kind? I think probably about 10 years ago. No, less than that. Probably about 5 years ago. I think I might still have been buying guitar magazines in the sort of 20-teens, I suppose you want to call that decade. And you know, and Neville used to be the editor of Guitarist magazine and editor of Guitar Techniques, and you know, I have a lot of time for his opinions. And he came out with a fantastic quote once where he said, music is not a track and field event. Okay, it's not about who can, you know, kind of score the highest or play the fastest or do, you know, it's, you know, it's. I don't know. I mean, you can say that certain players have been innovators and have, you know, led to introduce techniques into the mainstream that nobody else had pretty much done before, and then they became ubiquitous. But I tend to shy away from, and I know I do a video every week called Top 5 Tuesday when I'm ranking things like that, but I always say in those videos, I always try and remember to say that these are just my favourites, you know, make of it what you will, and, you know, agree or disagree in the comments. But, you know, it's Nuno. I mean, Nuno is a fantastic player, but and I remember being absolutely blown away when the first time I heard "Get the Funk Out," and that is still, I've still got that Porno Graffiti 2 album somewhere. I think I shall have to listen to it. I'll go and dig it up on Spotify, because that's how I listen to music these days. You know, it's yeah, he's a great player. It's for you to decide personally whether or not he's the greatest ever. If he's your favorite, I mean, you know who my favorite guitar player is. A certain chap from Belfast who's sadly no longer with us. You know, played with Thin Lizzy and did some fantastic blues albums and some epic 80s rock albums. And, you know, I mean, Mr. Gary Moore. And I know there's going to be people kind of having a bit of a snigger at how I say Gary Moore, but that's how I talk. So there you go. So I would say he's the greatest ever, because he's my favourite. But there you go. Let's have a look, see what else we've been going on in the chat. When oh, see, we've got Peter Shields in. Michael Broadhead is saying, loved your breakdown of the Golden Brown solo. Was this ever on your set list? I imagine it must be a very difficult number even to contemplate. It was on my set list once. Oh, gosh. This will have been late 80s, early 90s. I think it was round about just before I put my advert in the local paper and, for guitar lessons, call this number, all styles taught. I think I was doing it in a band then. And the thing about that song is that it's a waltz, it's 3/4, or you can count it sort of 6/8 as well if you want. But it's, I was counting it 3/4. And every few bars, I think in the verse, there's a bar of 4. So you get 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, like that. And it always used to trip me up. So the drummer in the band said, what you need to do is count it in 6s, and then there's an occasional 7. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And he said that bar of 7, he said, just think of the old Hollywood movie star, Gina Lollobrigida. When you get to that bar, just say her name on each beat. Just say one syllable of her name on each beat. And that's how you can count that bar without tripping up. And that was a bit of a light bulb moment for me, because A, it helped me play that song, but B, it also helped me think that's a great way of making rhythms accessible. Find a word that has that sort of cadence, that number of syllables, and you can make a rhythm that's a bit complex to count into an easy rhythm and more intuitive. What else we got going on here? Michael Purcell is saying, exactly, John, it's not a competing sport. That's why I have a problem with music competitions. Yeah, does anyone remember when, I think it was it Sky Arts a few years ago, tried doing like a sort of an X Factor, but for guitarists? And I watched the first episode and I just didn't really like it. It was just, and there was one of the judges, the guy out of Fun Loving Criminals, started coming across as a bit of a dick, to be honest, which is a shame, because I quite liked him up to that point. I thought he was quite a funny guy, but he came across as a bit of a, well, as I said, a bit of a dick. And it just the format of the show, it was, I mean, ironically, my missus loves those shows. Any kind of TV show where it's a singing or music competition, she will absolutely devour it. She's really excited because it's the finale of The Masked Singer this weekend, or as I call it, kind of the pantomime cow show. She loves all that sort of stuff, and she loved this guitar X Factor thing that was on a few years ago. Interestingly, I don't think it came back for a second series. It obviously didn't get the ratings because I think the target audience were guitarists, and guitarists tend to not like that kind of show. I watched the first one out of curiosity. I thought, nah, this isn't for me. Pablo Hankinson, I remember the Sky Arts program. Iommi and George Benson guested on it as experts to give advice. Yes, they did, didn't they? And Calby and the Rock Old Cat sing, boy, I hate those shows. Yeah, I mean, I can be in the same room when they're on. I just don't take any notice. The TV shows that really kind of get on my throat bits are the ones I tend to call them promiscuous airhead idiots plus alcohol. Love Island, Geordie Shore, made in Essex or whatever it's called, all those kind of things. It's like, I can't, those kind of shows cannot be on without there being breakages in this house. Fortunately, my missus doesn't like them either, so we don't have to endure them. Michael Purcell, yes, indeed, the money is in my account. Thank you so much. Yes. If anybody's not sure what that's about, I can't really say too much because I had to sign an NDA. But basically, there is a big movie coming out. Well, a relatively big movie coming out, and one of the characters is watching some YouTube videos in one scene, and for the purposes of the plot, they liked one of my videos and said, would I be okay with them using it? And he is a big check if you say yes. So I'm not going to tell you how much I got paid, but it's a generous sum for my 4 or 5 seconds on screen, which is all it is. So yeah. I thought it was a wind up at first when the email first came through, because I've had quite a few sort of kind of scammy sort of emails where it's and I know a couple of people in the chat also have their own channel on YouTube. If you get an email from a video game company telling you that we'd love to kind of feature your involve you in our latest campaign, and just here's we'll pay you $2,000 to do a 30-second ad on your channel. Just click on this link and download these. Don't. Okay. I nearly fell for it. The thing that got me was like there was a what was supposed to be a PDF agreement, and it was like 750 megabytes. A PDF agreement that you want me to download, and it's 750 megabytes. I don't think so. I am kind of sniffing around for some sponsors to get on the channel as well, because I floated that idea a couple of months ago now on here, and the response was generally positive. I'm thinking maybe something like, how 5 Watt World uses does it has the sort of True Fire sponsorship, something like that might be something I'm going to go with. Well, yes. In news. I had some news to tell you, didn't I? The Sire Larry Carlton H7, the 335 style guitar, has left the building. And it was the last time I used it. We were just talking about this video earlier. It was on the Golden Brown, the Stranglers solo. That's the last time I picked that guitar up, and it had been a good 3 or 4 months before that since I picked it up. Before that, it wasn't earning its keep for whatever reason. Lovely guitar, enjoyed playing it. I just wasn't picking it up. So it's gone. It's gone to its new owner. I got because of the fact that these guitars that I make videos with, they earn me money in the videos. Because I get the YouTube revenue, I can usually move a guitar on pretty quickly because I can price it to sell. And plus the fact, there's the whole sort of tax thing as well, where I can write off losses against tax and stuff. So the Larry Carlton guitar has gone, and I'll be honest, I'm thinking about the Sire S7 you can see in the background there. Beautiful guitar, but I'm just not into Strats. And it's like, is it earning its keep? The thing that's kind of making me think, well, maybe I should keep it is, I'm thinking there's always going to be an occasion when I'm going to need something of a Strat style guitar, and am I going to get a better one than that? So I doubt it. Peter Shields is saying you may regret that sale. Yeah, well, I've sold enough guitars that I've regretted selling to know not to jump in with both feet and say, okay, it's gone. It's. I thought long and hard about it, and in the end, there's another guitar that I wanted, which will be coming soon. I've paid for it, and it's a used guitar, which I've been curious about this type of guitar for a while, and they're getting a bit scarce and thin on the ground over here for some reason. So I've pulled the trigger on it, and just the sale of the sire enabled me to do that. Let's have a look. David Evans is saying, I used to beat myself up about not being a technical player, but realised with the seed stuff, that technical playing goes over most people's heads, i.e. non-guitar players. Yeah, this is it. David has a band called Seed, by the way. Well worth checking out. Go and find them on Spotify. Dave Lewis is saying, are you getting the new Larry Carlton P90 version or the Les Paul P90 version? No. No. I'm not saying I'm not going to buy another sire, but that's not the one I've got my sights on at the moment. Nancy Davis, would you buy another Gordon Smith? In a heartbeat, Nancy. Yes. It's those kind of idle moments when when you just kind of open up eBay on your phone. All I've got to do on my eBay app now is type the G and the O, and it auto completes Gordon Smith guitars because it knows me. Yeah, so I definitely would buy another Gordon Smith, and I don't regret selling the one that I sold to Bottleneck Bob, the Gordon Smith that I was using on the channel for a good wee while, because it went to a good home, and I had Blondie there. That was the replacement. So I don't regret selling that one, but I do still regret selling the one that I had in the 90s. The Gordon Smith guitars, for those who don't know, used to be made in Manchester by just this one guy. He wasn't called Gordon Smith. He was called John Smith. The Gordon half of the partnership departed many years before, yeah. That 90s one that I had is the one that I regret selling. So I am kind of sniffing around for a 90s Gordon Smith GS2 at some point. But then again, I'm sniffing around for an old satellite, 70s satellite Les Paul copy that I can reminisce with, because that was not my first guitar, but it was my first gigging guitar. Where are we? Time Prophet is saying, would you get another Ert? Funny you should mention that, mate. Watch this space. This one hasn't been decapitated, though. This one hasn't been decapitated. It's got a headstock, I think that was the deciding factor that made me sell the last Ert. It was the headless thing. It just felt a bit gimmicky. The neck on that thing was absolutely its saving grace. It was just such a beautiful neck, beautiful to play on. I didn't like the pickups, so the pickups got changed, and the whole headless thing was it just seemed like such a gimmick, really. And it's what problem was it solving? Other than, well, people say, oh yeah, but it makes it lighter. Well, not really. It didn't. This guitar, this lovely little PRS, weighs about the same as that Ert. Oh, but you can take it on a plane. I've been on a plane twice in my life. I know it's different in the States. I know kind of people in America, tend to catch planes the same way we catch a bus or a train. But I'm 56 years old, and I've been I've flown twice in my life, and so I just don't see it ever happening again. Well, I don't see any need for it really, because I'm self-employed. I don't go on holidays or vacations, and if I do, I tend to go to a little guest house in the Lake District. I am that middle-aged bloke who doesn't like going somewhere where they don't sell English beer, and where there's got to be a decent fish and chip shop somewhere nearby. The older I get, the more I get like that. Headless would be handy while playing on a computer, as I wouldn't bash my head against the wall. Fair enough, mate. But it's. I love the neck on that Ert, which is what's made me think about. Not think about. I pulled the trigger on another one. What else we got in the chat? Chris Otwell saying Gordon Smith now made in Higham Ferrers in Northamptonshire, 6 miles from me. Michael Broadhead, that's a good point, mate. Do you think the Les Paul was Gary Moore's definitive guitar? He went through a Strat phase, didn't he? Did it affect his technique? I don't know. I remember that I got into Gary's playing when in the 80s with the Victims of the Future album. And I think he had some kind of endorsement deal, not an endorsement deal, but some kind of relationship with Ibanez back then, because he was playing like a metallic blue, amongst many others, a metallic blue Ibanez Roadster. And, you'd also see him with Hamer guitars quite a lot back then. It wasn't until I got a VHS video of Gary, the Emerald Isles tour, where he was going back to Ireland to play some shows in Belfast and Dublin. He played the Les Paul on Parisian Walkways on that video, and that's the first time I'd seen him playing a Les Paul. I didn't know at the time that it was the Peter Green Les Paul, because it was 1985. I didn't know much then. I don't know much more now, to be honest with you. But yeah, that was the first time I saw him playing a Les Paul, and it was. I don't know, did it affect his technique? I think probably my favourite Gary Moore album, because it's my favourite Gary Moore guitar tone, is Still Got the Blues, and that's all Les Paul throughout that throughout that album. So he certainly got a better tone from what was it, 1990 onwards, I think. You go back and listen to some of his earlier solo albums like Dirty Fingers and stuff, and it's a really kind of nasty guitar tone on it. There's no other way of putting it. It's like he's just kind of DI'd without any kind of speaker simulation or anything like that. It's just it's like he's just kind of playing almost a kind of overdrive pedal straight into the desk. So perhaps it affected his technique, but more than anything else, I think the Les Paul is the tone I associate with Gary, mainly because my favourite album of his is, when he's playing, the Les Paul full on. It's like my favourite Clapton tone is a Strat, because of the Layla album. That's such a fantastic album, isn't it? And I thought for years he was playing Blackie on that album, but he wasn't. He was playing Brownie, one of his other Strats that he bought when he was on tour in the States with Cream. And for me that guitar tone that Clapton gets on the Layla album, with Have You Ever Loved a Woman and Key to the Highway, he never got a better sound, and he never played better, I don't think. Sometimes he may have equaled it, but I don't think he ever did better. Yes, indeed. He used the Charvel with one pickup and a locking tremolo on his video in Stockholm. Yeah, G-Force was all DI'd. Thank you, Derek. Thank you for clearing that. I thought it was, let's see what else we got. Time Prophet saying my favourite Gary Moore album is Victims of the Future. It's a great album, mate. It's probably one of my favourite 80s rock albums. That's a relatively short list, it has to be said, because when I started seeing the way that I'd got into rock music at the end of the 70s, when I was like 79, I'd be 12 years old. That's when I started getting into, Rainbow and Judas Priest and that kind of thing. And then after a few years, I started seeing the way that rock was going, the whole kind of poodle perm and spandex and all of that. And fortunately, I had blues to fall back on. So Rick Beato often says that, I think it's the 90s, is it? He says, I spent the 90s in a jazz coma. I spent the 80s in pretty much a blues coma. I just wasn't taking much notice at all of 80s rock. And I still prefer not to be honest with you. Peter Nicholson saying, how is that beer not going through you? Is a dash at 5:58 coming? Can't rule it out, mate. Why did Bono fall off the stage? He was too close to the edge. But a dumsh, yes, indeed. Thank you very much. I'm here all week. Try the veal. Dirty Fingers are a well sought after Gibson pickup. Yes, I know. I remember I used to have a Gibson pickup catalogue. It was part of my guitar porn when I was a kid. And, I think the Dirty Fingers, that was the Gibson trying to claw back a little bit of the DiMarzio Super Distortion market, wasn't it? 7 minutes left and pouring a new pint. Do we get overtime tonight? No, mate. No, I've got to. Well, I'll have to. What goes in must come out, and all that. I will have to go and I've got the dinner to do as well. We're having chili cheese fries tonight, curry tomorrow, and cluck and moo on Sunday. Where are we? Somebody's saying easiest blues song to play. Craig Stevenson, I forgot how good Gary Moore was to watch your top Gary Moore tracks. Oh well, thank you, Craig. Easiest blues song to play. In terms of, that's the thing about blues. You can make any blues song as easy or as complex as you want. I mean, in terms of matching the recorded version of it, I would say Muddy Waters Blues by Paul Rodgers. Remember that album he did where he did a blues album in the 90s with various guest artists, and the title track was just thumping away on an E chord, basically. So you don't get much easier than one chord, do you? Triple Distiller saying, have you had enough beer to try saying Moore with a Belfast accent? No, not yet, mate. Time Prophet. No, you don't be dissing the quo, mate. You got to love a bit of quo. I do anyway. It's in the heyday. I mean, and by that I mean the 70s, which was the best decade for music. It's been scientifically proven by me, to me. I just they're a good time party band, and they don't pretend to be anything else. And nothing wrong with simple music that celebrates its own simplicity. And that said, a lot of people will kind of get a bit sniffy about status quo. will often play their stuff wrong. For instance, did you spot, have you noticed the diminished chord in Rockin' All Over the World? Most people don't notice it, but it is in there. It's people kind of playing covers bands and they do Rockin' All Over the World, and they always miss that chord out for some reason, but it is in there. It's on the I like it, I like it, I like it, that kind of chorus part. Towards the on the final choruses, it is in there. So listen out for it. The Quo are a parody tribute band these days. Well, have they not earned that right? Have they, after 50 years and probably only one remaining member, have they not earned their right to just go out and play the music that they've loved and that the fans want to hear? I think they have. David Bowie, whichever way you want to pronounce it, when he was alive, he made a comment to a journalist in an interview where he's saying, I think it was around about that time when he did that tour that was just his greatest hits. And he got a bit of flack for it, and he says, "Well, what's wrong with kind of playing my favourite and the audience's favourite songs?" It's. I mean, when you get to the point where you're an old age pensioner, frankly, like Francis Rossi is these days, has he not earned the right to just kind of say, "This is my work. This is what I've done in my career. Here it is." I think he probably has. Anyway, let's see what else is going on in the chat. Brad Matthews is saying Quo were great up until around the Quo live album. My favourite live album by the Quo is Live at the NEC, because that's like a live greatest hits album. Before they got into, I think we can, even the diehard Quo fans will admit that by the time we got into the 80s, with songs like Margarita Time, synthesizers on a Quo song doesn't really work for me. And old rag blues and stuff like that. But then again, they came back with Rolling Home and In the Army Now and and stuff like so. They would occasionally recapture that kind of 12-bar fun boogie sort of thing. But when they concentrated on that, when they were kind of long-haired louts wearing denim. Balder's saying Vice Beer Verdict. Yeah, I don't dislike it, mate. But as I said, I don't think it will be my first choice. It's there is something of an aftertaste with it that I'm not entirely tuned into, shall we say. Yeah, Burning Bridges. Oh my God, indeed. Somebody's asking me, Time Prophet like Margarita Time. Sorry, mate. Somebody's asking me, I forgot what they're asking me. What I think of Heart. Yeah, all right. I mean, again, I know all the kind of obvious hits. Things like Barracuda and and then their 80s stuff like Alone and all that kind of stuff. Don't dislike it, but I can't say I've really kind of investigated far enough into their catalogue to have an opinion on them. Let's have a look. What else we got? When I were a youth, there was a Quo type band called Vardis on the Northeast Club circuit. Yeah, you see, you wouldn't get that nowadays, would you? That would go over a lot of people's heads. Remember to cut Dougie's due clause. Just look for Bloodline. It's easy. Thank you, Cylon Hybrid. He is going in for. I've never had to cut any of my dog's nails before and claws before, because they've always kind of just worn down on the pavement, but they're just further up his legs. So I haven't had any experience of that, but I might get the vet to show me how to proceed, and because he is going in for a little operation very soon. He's losing a few ounces from between his back legs. We'll leave it at that. Apparently, it'll calm him down. I've got to tell you, if I woke up and they weren't there, it wouldn't calm me down. And on that note, we've gone over the hour, and as I say, chaps, what goes in must come out. So I'm going to wrap things up there for this evening. Thank you once again, one and all, for turning up to watch a fat, bald northern lad talk absolute cobblers for an hour or so. I enjoy it, and I'll keep on doing it until you're sick of me. But for now, time, gentlemen, please.